Good afternoon everybody, Stephen Howson here, and as you know, I like to mess around with the content at time to time, and I just thought I'd try and do something a little bit different. Obviously with the newspaper background that we've got here, we should read some newspapers. Everyone seemed to enjoy it when I did it for Full Time Devils once. I think it was during the transfer window in January, and Sunday I get the papers, I have a read through them, and I thought, do you know what? There's probably some talking points here that we could have, and it definitely opens me up to the wider world of football and less United-centric. So I like the idea of it. If you like the idea of it, stick it in the comments, let me know. So what I'm going to do today is I've got two papers that I usually read. Well, I don't usually read this one, but I got this one for the pure purpose of I knew there'd be something to talk about in here because I knew it'd be filled with nonsense. I like reading The Guardian, but they were sold out of The Guardian by the time I got there this morning. So I've gone for the Mail, gone for the Sun. The Star's alright sometimes, depends what you're looking for, but sometimes they're all a bit naff as well, aren't they? So the one that we've got this morning, in fact, you know what, let's touch on England. We can't really get away from it, can we? We've got back page on the Sun there, as you would expect. We've got the back page on the Mail there, as you would expect. Front page of the Sport in the Mail as well in there. So it's worth talking about. I think last night England beating the world champions. Shouldn't get carried away with that, but you can't deny it was a good performance. And do you know what was good about it was they played in the English style with a tempo. Now, one of the things that I like about the English mentality of the game, and I think what makes the Premier League such a good league, is that there is a tempo to the league, an internal tempo which keeps it at a speed. And when it's at its best, it's ferociously back and forth. And I think you do not get that most places in Europe. You do get it in Germany a little bit, actually. You can get it in Holland. We don't get it in Spain by and large. You don't really get it in France. You don't really get it in Italy. You don't really get it in Portugal. It's very much a Northern European thing. It's certainly an English and Scottish thing. And English football has been at the best when it's been allowed to play to our tempo. We saw the dominance and emergence of English teams in Europe in the 60s, 70s and 80s, or late 60s, 70s and 80s. Obviously what the Babes did early doors, but what Liverpool and Villa and Forest and all them lot achieved in the 70s, and the dominance that they was achieving in the 80s prior to Howson. English football was on a high on the pitch, at least, despite the trouble being caused off it. And the reason for it, I think, was that there was a style and a tempo of play that was alien to the what would probably derogatorily refer to as the Continentals. And then what happened with the Premier League, everyone liked the quality of player that we was bringing in from overseas. Your Ravanellis, your Vialis, your Hullets, your Zolas and players like that, your Cantonas. And we thought we needed to adapt our way to play the continental style of football. It happened in Europe, took us ages as United, being in the Champions League in those mid-90s, it took us ages to adapt to Europe. Fergie always tried to play it a different way, and he never really got to grips with it. 99 we played the United way, that Fergie way, if you like, that attacking, relentless, free-flowing, fast-tempoed football, and we fucking wiped the floor with people in Europe. And then from 2000 onwards, he seemed to think that he needed to go back to this continental thing, and he tried to do the 4-5-1, and it doesn't suit us, it doesn't suit our mentality. And as a nation, we don't have that sort of tactical nous about us. We should play to our strengths. The Italians play to their strengths, that they're an excellent defensive team and they have a little bit of flair in the final third. The Germans, obviously, wonderful organisation. And these are stereotypes that you can throw out there. But you can see the pattern of this being repeated from years of football. And English football is brave and it's fast-tempoed and at times highly technical. And I think what we're getting at the moment is some highly technical, brave, fast footballers. And if Roy Hodgson's got anything about him, then what he will do is he will play those lads in the style that they're accustomed to. Now, the 4 Spurs lads have come into the side for England, and they've brought that exact tempo, style and bravery to England. And England, as a collective, are a lot better than Spurs. There's some great footballers in this England side. And I think the attacking prowess England have got, and there's a big point I want to make on this in a bit. Anyway, I was going to talk about England later on, but not really like this. I flicked what I was going to talk about, really, because I'm going to talk about Memphis and Schneiderlin in this. That's ridiculous. But the attacking flair that England have got at the moment, they have to play to the strength of that. There's no point us trying to outmuscle teams in midfield or tactically outthink teams by this and another. We just should just put the best attacking players we've got on the pitch and say, you lot go for it and cause havoc, because I think that they'll do that. Now, they're probably not going to win the Euros. I think France have got it to lose because they've got world-class players throughout the team, from goalkeeper to centre forward, midfield, defence. They've got experience. They've got experience of high-level Champions League. They've got experience in top-level domestic football. They've got a very, very, very strong side throughout the team. They've also got home advantage. So I think if you're going to be betting on the Euros this summer, you've got to look to France. You can never dismiss Spain because of the level of winner that they've got also in the squad. Germany too. That's where I'd be looking to the three favourites. But then I think you've got Belgium, Italy and England as three outsiders that, do you know what, bit of a luck of a draw, one superstar in one of the main teams gets injured, everything can fall apart, a little bit of luck, a penalty or a free kick that you shouldn't have got, and it could be you. And if you're in a final, then it's who handles the pressure the best usually, rather than the best team. So I think England's attacking prowess, and they have to look to Spurs and they have to look to Leicester and they have to look to those sort of sides that are doing really well at the moment. The big flaw that I see for England is I feel like Roy Hodgson has got this sort of internal desire to make amends for what happened with him at Liverpool, and he seems to pick Liverpool players ahead of commensurate players time and time again for no reason other than that they're Liverpool players, it seems to me at least. So I think that's ultimately going to be the letdown. But great win last night. Vardy's goal was absolutely filthy. Absolutely filthy. I mean, there is no other word to describe it. It was absolutely filthy. Unbelievable goal. It's the sort of goal that you score and you never shut up about scoring it. That is an unbelievable goal last night. Unbelievable goal. So, big hats off to Jamie Vardy, Harry Kane, and those two, for me, have to be. I mean, when you've got the leading scorers in the English league as two English lads, and you're thinking about playing Wayne Rooney ahead of either of them, you need your head checking. I don't care if he's the leading scorer of all time in England. Bobby Charlton's the second leading scorer. Are we going to bring him in the squad? What about Gary Lineker? Let's get him in the mix. His time has passed. He's probably still got some usefulness to be in the squad, and I think he should definitely go to France if he's fit and he can prove his fitness with Manchester United. But how you can start Wayne Rooney ahead of those two? Baffling. Absolutely baffling. These two are flying at the moment. Fearless, fast, clinical, scoring goals for fun. If you don't play them in the Euros, you don't deserve to win it. Simple as that. And, right, let's get on to the point that I did want to talk about first of all. So this is by Mike McGrath. Never heard of Mike McGrath. I reckon we'll probably never be hearing from him again after this. Absolute bullshit that he's wrote. So I'll read it out for you. Memphis Depay faces the axe in a Manchester United summer clear-out. Now, we've been having a clear-out for the last 3 years, which I think is one of the things that Louis van Gaal's probably one of the jobs that he had to get a lot of players off the wage bill. And I reckon not all of the players who left in the summer was down to him. I reckon some of the players, like people always throw the Hernandez thing up at him. Well, he probably sat down with Hernandez and went, listen, you're not first choice. And he went, cool, I'm off. And now what can you do? Player power is huge at the moment. Are you going to try and keep an unhappy player on your hands? Or when a bid comes in from him and you're like, well, he wants to go, they're offering money, off you go. Van Persie didn't want to keep him around, told him he's probably not going to be first choice, and he was like, cool, laters. So you can't keep unhappy players. So I don't think that you should be pinning all of these players who were allowed to go. I don't think it was solely Louis van Gaal's choice. I reckon there was a lot to do with the board and a lot to do with the players, and I think between those three sort of elements, that's why certain players left. Now, I do agree that we mismanaged the window massively. I thought we let far too many leave without replacing them. I think you can pin replacing them at him. But a clear out again? I don't think there's a need for a clear out. There's a couple of players who I would happily see go. But a clear out, another clear out, I don't think we could afford another clear out as a club, for starters. And the players that he's talking about here, this Mike McGrath fella, are not the worst performers in the team. I'll go through this. So he says, United will listen to offers for their £25 million flop. Who says he's a flop? He's a young lad adjusting to a new league who's done all right. He's hardly flop, mate. That's ridiculous. Other stars that can go include Morgan Schneiderlin, just a season after he arrived from Southampton. Why can Morgan Schneiderlin go? And there's no You give no reason in this article. This is why this article is absolute toilet paper. Because you give no reason in this argument whatsoever of why these players can go. You say, United are going to listen to offers for Depay because he's flopped. Well, if he's flopped, who's going to take him? Schneiderlin can go. Why? Has he had a poor season? Because if you're suggesting Schneiderlin's had a poor season, you don't watch football, mate. And even defenders Phil Jones and Marcus Rojo face uncertain futures as United look to rebuild after a poor campaign. Phil Jones I would agree with, only to the extent that his injuries mean that some of the young players that we've got coming up through the squad, Fosu Mensah, Roshan Williams, even McNair, are being held back because of his presence in the squad. But Phil Jones is a good footballer. The problem with Phil Jones is a good footballer if you put him alongside a leader and let him do the dirty work and have a leader marshal him around. Phil Jones alongside a Rio Ferdinand a couple of years ago would have been a great partnership because Phil would have gone and done all the physical stuff, Rio marshalling the back line. The problem with Phil Jones is he's so injury prone. That is it. That is his only problem. He is a phenomenal defender apart from that. He blocks well. He reads the game quite well. His distribution's not bad. He's brave. He's good in the air. He's strong. He's a good defender. But I would agree that I wouldn't cry anyway if Phil Jones was let go. Rojo, you could say similar to Phil Jones. I like Rojo's attitude. I like the aggression in him. I like that he's got a bit of bite and a bit of fight about him. But again, injuries have meant that he's not really settled. Now he's been played at left back and centre half. He's not been allowed to have a settled position. And I think that's an issue for a defender. I think you've got to have a settled position, and I think you've got to be allowed to build into the defensive unit. I wouldn't say... We got Rojo fairly cheap, didn't we? So why would you let him go? I don't understand why Rojo's going. So there's only that little bit on the back page. Let's stick through to page 66 and see the rest of the nonsense that is written. Depay, 22, was billed as the man to inject excitement into United's attack but flopped big time with his free kicks being ridiculed. Some of his free kicks have been ridiculed. The guy's 22 years of age, just turned 22. Calling him a flop now is just... He's asking for egg on your face in a few years when he does become inevitably world class, which he will. Jones has struggled with injury this season and started just 6 league games. The last coming at the start of January. Rojo has struggled with a shoulder problem and only returned for the last 7 matches after 3 months out. Yeah, he's been out for 3 months. I don't think you can really start judging him too much. And then here's where it gets ridiculous. He goes, reserve keeper Sergio Romero is also on his way with River Plate confirming their interest, despite the fact that the player said that he's got no desire whatsoever to return and his head's in Manchester. And if you read between the lines of what he was saying that this is back on the cards and that he's looking to take over as #1 at Manchester United. Romero comes out and said, my head is in Manchester, I want to play for Manchester United. Do you know what? If I was just reading it on face value, it's a fucking great quote from a player who's just, it looks like he's got a little bit of passion. And as I said, I think on one of the dailies last week, when he came in against Midtjylland, he had a great game. I would have no issues whatsoever if we decided to go with Romero as our #1, rather than risking it and try and go for somebody else. Give the guy a chance, at least over the summer, I reckon, if this does happen. So, Mike McGrath, I hope you're an apprentice or a work experience kind of guy, because if you're a professional paid journalist, that is fucking dreadful. And I know United sell papers, and I know United generate website hits and clicks and stuff like that, but there's no basis in this. There's no sense in this. It's just fucking bullshit, mate. Honestly, it's the worst rumour that we're going to hear today. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. There was one more that I wanted to read in the Sun, actually, before I flip over to the Mail. I'll just show you this one. I'm sure Roy Hodgson's quaking in his boots, but this again, maybe he is, because this is another example of the Liverpool sort of bias that we get from Roy Hodgson. Milner in quit threat. Fucking quit. James Milner will hold talks about quitting England this summer. Why not do it now? This is the sort of player, like, I don't like Jordan Henderson as a footballer. I don't like James Milner as a footballer, and these are the sort of players. We saw it with Lampard. Lampard was a lot more effective than Gerrard was for England, but we saw it with Lampard and Gerrard, where those two players were played to the detriment of the likes of Michael Carrick and the likes of Owen Hargreaves, who are actually very good footballers. And we could see it again with Hopefully the rain's not too bad. Can you hear the rain? Hopefully that's not too audible on the video. It's just started absolutely bucketing down. How this guy's got 50 caps is beyond me. This is ridiculous. But we do see it sometimes in the England squad where there's some players just allowed to just linger in the squad when there's younger, fresher, better talent that doesn't get an opportunity. And that's why no one can be arsed with England, because it's the same old, same old. And then they get built up prior to a tournament like, do you know what? We're going to win it. We're never going to fucking win it. The players we've got aren't good enough. We should never have gone into any tournament even close to being in the top 3 or 4 favourites. We're ranked usually between 7th, 8th, 9th in the world, aren't we? And do you know what? That's about where we are. And we should just accept that's where we are. And if we get to a semi-final in a World Cup or even in the Euros, we probably overachieved. That's about it. We are not a world power in football, sadly. But yeah, James Milner, quit, mate, because honestly, I could see him being half useful in a squad, but he should not be starting games for England, should he? Jesus Christ. I thought Ali and Dyer looked good. I'm a big fan of Dyer. People rip me off over that one, but I'm a big fan of Dyer. I think Dyer's a great player. And someone who's grown up outside of the English game, which is probably a good thing for him. So, moving on to the Mail. And the article that caught my eye in the Mail was a new bid tonight. 1966 hero Moore. Obviously, Bobby Moore is not Sir Bobby Moore, like we have Sir Bobby Charlton, and I think Jeff Hurst is also a Sir. So it makes no sense to me why he's not a Sir. Obviously, died from cancer, age 51 in 1993, and I can't remember where I listened to this. I think it was on TalkSport, and someone was explaining that West Ham have got a Bobby Moore stand, and he wasn't allowed to sit in the stand named after him in the latter years of his life. He wasn't welcome at West Ham. Now, I don't know the reasons behind that. I'm not a West Ham fan. I don't know the full story behind that. If you are, please stick it in the comments below. Educate me, because I don't know. Did he fall out with the board? Did he fall out with the owners? What's the reason behind that? Because you see the likes of Bobby Charlton at Old Trafford, and that is the connection to the past. He is the heart of Manchester United. I refuse to believe that West Ham, a team that, you know, they call themselves that they say they won the World Cup, don't they, because of the likes of Bobby Moore. So why they would then call a stand after him, say the things that they say, and then not allow the guy to have the ambassadorial role that Bobby Charlton has at Old Trafford, I don't know. I mean, I was very young when he died. Obviously, I didn't see him as a player, so I don't know enough about him, but I would support this campaign. The guy is the captain of our only international success. What purpose, what reasons have you got for denying this guy a posthumous knighthood? I think if anyone else in the squad has got it, yeah, Sir Jeff Hurst is there. It's on the front of the sport, actually, so he is a Sir also. So there's several players in the England squad from that time have been knighted, and you don't knight the captain. I think even King Gerrard and Beckham have got like OBEs or CBEs or something, haven't they? Get Bobby Moore knighted. As you can imagine, the Mail is again full of the England stuff, but what I want to take your attention to is the back page. Oliver Holt, a good read usually as well. And I'm glad he's highlighting this. Now, in America at the moment, there's a lot of talk about concussions. Will Smith's just done a film about it in relation to the NFL issue that they're having in the NFL. And the issue that they've got in the NFL is the helmets and the protection that the players wear. I mean, you have 300, 320, 340 pound men who, due to the nature, the fractured nature of the play in American football, there's a reset and people are fresh and they're colliding into each other about as fast as it's possible for humans to collide into each other generally. The helmets and the padding mean that tackles with the head are quite normal. You literally using your head as a battering ram to slow another person's progress, and it's leading to a lot of concussions and a lot of brain injuries and a lot of the related sort of side effects with that. Obviously, I used to play rugby. I've had several concussions, so I always find this very interesting reading. And this, basically, the basis of this article from Oliver Holt is talking about the effects of concussion and what they do to athletes. And it's not just what they do to athletes; it's what they do to children. Because getting concussions as children is extremely dangerous, and it's something that has to be monitored. And you can't just allow you have to treat concussion as the serious thing is. It's a brain injury. You need to ice the head. You need to take steps. If there's any doubt with concussion, if you're a coach, if you're a player yourself, if there's any time that you get a knock on the head that makes you feel a little bit woozy, a little bit sick, you can get a concussion from being hit in the chest as well. So don't think you can just hit your head. If there's a big collision, if you play rugby, if you do MMA, if there's anything like that, I mean, even if you're in a car crash, you can get a concussion without even hitting your head. So if there's any doubt with concussion, there's no doubt. You've got to treat it like any other injury. Ice the head, get it looked at, because concussion is a serious, serious thing, and it leads to all sorts of mental complications later on in life. And this is a really good article, and I'm really glad that Oliver Holt has highlighted it like this. So I'd just like to re-highlight it, say go and check this article out. It's a very good article, and look into what's going on with concussion, because it's a serious thing. Mod rugby in the UK at the moment, every player has to wear a head guard, but to me the head guards don't really do much, in all honesty. I played with a head guard probably for a couple of seasons, and then I stopped wearing them, because all it does is it gives you a false sense of security that you can take shots to the head, but when the brain's being pounded onto the floor, that half-inch of cushioning around your head doesn't protect it in the slightest. It's the jolt that's causing the damage, and that doesn't get protected by wearing a head guard. So you have to be very careful with concussions, and football is a sport that I think treats concussions extremely lightly, because it's not really such a contact sport no more. In boxing, in MMA, and in rugby, they do have quite serious consequences and serious sort of restrictions on players who've received concussions. But in football, who was it recently? I remember tweeting about it recently, that someone was concussed and they was allowed to play on. Was it a goalkeeper? I'm sure it was a goalkeeper very recently. I want to say it was Newcastle. I'm still looking at this photo here of Mitrovic, which might make me think it was Newcastle, but I'm sure it was Newcastle. No, it was Ajax. Yes, I was watching Ajax against ADO Den Haag, and the Ajax keeper, I think it was the Ajax keeper, got absolutely cleaned out. He was out. He was completely out. And they revived him and allowed him to play on. Now he's 100% suffering from concussion, which is a swollen brain, which is a brain injury, and you cannot allow him to play. A goalkeeper is probably the most physical or the most vulnerable player on a pitch in terms of getting that sort of injury, and you allow him to play. That is, it should be a regulation that if anyone goes out for any length of time, no matter if it's a couple of seconds or a minute, they need to be taken off, and they should not be allowed to play or even train for at least a couple of weeks until a doctor's cleared them to do so. It's absolutely mental. I couldn't believe it when I was watching it. I could not believe it. I thought there was restrictions in place for that already. Clearly not. And poor showing on the medical staff from Ajax for allowing that. That was pretty bad. So that's what I'm looking at in the papers today. Obviously not too much. A little bit of bullshit about Memphis and Schneiderlin, which I'm not buying. Obviously everyone's going hard on what's happened with the England side. Angel Gomez scored yesterday for England under 21s. There was several England United Academy players out playing for England. Angel scored against Brazil, but they lost at the under-16s level in the Montague Trophy, or the Montague Tournament, I think it might be called, over in France. England are now through to the next stage. I'm not sure if it's the quarters or semi-finals, but they are through to the next stage where they will face Northern Ireland. So there's a very good chance of them progressing in this and doing well. So obviously we wish Angel luck and the rest of the England team luck. And that is it for today. I've got a couple of gaming videos coming out tomorrow, and then I'm trying to experiment with having a schedule of doing something on the same day every week, so I can get into the routine of making it beforehand or shooting it just now like I am doing, if it's just straight to camera like this, and getting it out as soon as possible. So if you're interested what that schedule is going to look like, check it out on my Twitter. It'll be one of the photos. I did it as a screenshot of notes. And then let me know in the comments what you think about the schedule. Is there anything else that you want me to talk about? Anything else at all that you want me to start including? I am going to include a Euro or an MLS monthly. I couldn't do the MLS one weekly. It was too much trying to cram in watching 5 or 6 matches and then looking at the fixtures coming up and try and figure out what I'm going to do. I couldn't do it. It was too much work. So I am sorry I didn't manage to do that weekly, but I am going to do it monthly. I am watching quite a bit of MLS, but I just couldn't watch 6 or 7 games every single week. It was killing me. So as again, usual, thank you for watching. Drop me a like if you don't mind. Let's get some discussion going about anything you like in the comments below. I am giving away a hat. I've still not got it up here. 2 hats, sorry. Once I reach 1,500 subscribers on YouTube. We're around about 1,000 away, I think, maybe 1,100 away. So thank you to everyone who's subscribed. We'll be giving those the day we reach 7,500. Thank you for watching again. Drop me a subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you soon. Laters.